So you are interested in using Flipgrid. That's an awesome choice. Flipgrid lets you do so many things. For example, if you want to hear your students actually explain a concept, or perhaps you want to run a type of asynchronous discussion where each student can answer a question and then they can reply to each other, all while being able to see and hear each other. It's a great resource, especially when you are not meeting together. And so step one after getting to flipgrid.com would be to make sure that you actually have an account. So if you haven't been here before, you're going to have to click this educator sign up on the right hand of your screen, and you can simply log in through your Google account. Just follow the directions. It is quite simple for you. No extra passwords or anything needed. Best thing about Flipgrid too is it is absolutely free. So once you have your login, the next time you come back, you'll go to your educator login. And once again, you might be prompted to sign in through your Google account. Otherwise, eventually you will end up inside your grids. Now, again, it's one of those things where you're going to have to set a few things up here. And so let me give you some terminology, and I'm going to give you the basics to set up your grids and then show you how to set up an actual topic, which would be like your assignment. So a grid, in my opinion, is like a class. And so I have decided to create just one AP Bio grid, even though I teach a couple classes of it. Pros and cons. Some pros, all my students can reply to each other this way. Some cons would be if you have too many students, you might not want to have 60 people posting all in here, 90 people, 100 people. So a lot of people would create a grid for each class. So for example, if I wanted to create a new grid, I could say something like first hour AP Bio 2020. Some way to kind of keep it straight about what my hour is, what my class is, and even what the year might be. The second thing you would want to consider doing is having your students join by school email. So when I select that, later on, it's going to require that they use their school email address. And that way you prevent anyone else that's not actually in your school from getting into your Flipgrid and viewing your students' videos. It's up to you if you want to customize your Flipgrid code. For example, you could try to name it flipgrid.com first hour AP Bio 2020. You're going to post the links most likely anyways on your Google Classroom, on your Moodle, so I wouldn't worry too much about that. So I'm going to click next, and now you can see what school email addresses. As staff, it's grcs.org. But remember that your students are grchristian.org. So I would make sure that you have that one as well. And I'm going to add the little @ symbol there. And so I want to make sure that both staff and students would be able to enter into this. I just hit the tab button. And now anyone with those email addresses and the link that you provide could get into your Flipgrid. Anyone from other schools, etc., cannot. And I just click next. So my grid is ready. Again, they're going to give me a direct link to my grid. Again, my grid is like my class. I could post this kind of general link into my Google Classroom directly right here. I could copy and paste it into an email. But what I typically do is rather than sharing this overall class or grid code, is I create assignments within my Flipgrid, and then I usually share those links directly. So I'm not going to worry too much about this link right now. And I'll hit go to my grid. So now we can see we're in first hour AP Bio 2020. I don't have any topics that I made. They just kind of give you this general one. And if you want to play around with it, great. Maybe it'd be a good way to start things up this coming week. I'm going to delete mine in a minute. So actually, I'll just delete it right now. I'm going to go to actions. And because this isn't mine, I am just going to go delete topic. So one thing that's kind of cool about Flipgrid is, let's say you go back to my grids up here on the top. Now I can see my first hour, and you say, you know what, I do want to have separate classes, so let me go and make a new grid, a new class for my second hour AP Bio, my third, etc. Well, later on, if I post an assignment and I want it to go to multiple classes, I can do that. I don't need to remake it every time. And so later on, I'll come back to that after I show you how to make your first assignment. So I'm going to go back into my AP Bio class. Once again, here's that code that we saw earlier. If I click the share button, it's going to give me that same address to get into this class if you wanted to share that with your students. what I would recommend doing is just go ahead and make your first topic. So your topic inside your grid would be like your first assignment. Remember, your grid is your class. Your topics are your assignments. So I'm going to add a new topic. So at this point, you got to decide, what do you want your students to do? Maybe you have them answer a single prompt. Some of you have probably done this maybe in a grad class where your professor lists a statement based on an article you read, and you need to write 2-paragraph response to it. And then you need to reply to 2 of your coworkers or your peers' responses by a certain date. Flipgrid allows you to do a similar thing, except you're actually recording your voice and your picture if you allow that as well. So maybe I'm going to say, let's see here, what would be a good topic? Cellular respiration. Everyone loves some biology. So I'm going to have my topic is going to be, my title is going to be that. You can decide how long you want it to be. They give you many, many options, and please be very, very careful on how long you give your students to talk. If you give them 5 minutes and you have 100 students and you are expecting yourself to watch all 100 of those 5-minute videos, well, you can do the math, but it's a pretty big number of time. On the other hand, if you just want them to get to the point, give them a small period of time. Sometimes it forces them to do it a couple times, which I think is just great practice. So I would strongly recommend staying under 2 minutes, 2 minutes or under. The other way to think about it is maybe you're not going to watch all these videos. Maybe they're going to post videos and then they are going to watch each other's videos and post responses. If they're going to do some of that work, then maybe you're not as worried about it being a little bit longer. So I'm going to stick with 2 minutes right here. You have to type some sort of prompt. So this could be your question, like explain the process of cellular respiration, however detailed you want to be. You can add yourself on video doing this or explaining it. I'm not sure why I said like explain, but whatever. So if you wanted to expand on it, totally optional down here, I could click this record button and I could make just a brief little video of me explaining what's going on, right? My students are going to make a little video, so I could make a little video as well. You can upload a video if you already made one. You can see it's pretty self-explanatory. To be honest, I've never actually clicked on those. I've always kept my Flipgrids pretty simple. Another kind of important one that I missed the first couple times I did this is rather than clicking create a topic, click more options, because there's so much more we can set up. So here's my more options. I've never really added a tip. Feel free to. You can add attachments if you want to. Again, I don't think I ever have. Here is probably one of the main things you want to do. So under topic status, video moderation, it says videos will be hidden from students until you activate. If you don't want a student to be able to see another student's video right away, you want to have this on, meaning green. At this point, when my student would go and create their response, they do not see anyone else's responses. Even after they create their response, they don't see it. Until I go back and I decide, do I want to show all the videos or do I just want to show some of them that I think are the better ones? If this is off, then as videos are posted by students, other students can see them whether they have posted yet or not. So again, it's one of those things where you need to think about how secure do you want this? Do you want to make sure that they are posting their own thoughts before they're seeing their classmates, or doesn't it matter to you? The other important one is this student-to-student replies. If you just want the student to post more for your benefit so you can see, hear what they're talking about, maybe you don't want them to reply to each other, and you would turn this off. On the other hand, there's some good uses for having students reply to each other. Maybe it's watch two other videos and tell them 2 things that you liked and 1 thing that you questioned. Well, then you might want to leave student replies on, and they can leave video replies to their classmates. Active just means they could actively get into this topic. Frozen means they could still see things that are posted, but they can't post anything new. Hidden means they don't see it at all. You can set due dates if you want. You don't have to. Again, I usually just leave mine active and open. A couple last options. At the end of a Flipgrid, they always take a selfie or a little video afterwards. I don't really feel a need to have them put another video or anything like that. I would say if you want to give them a little bit of fun, at the end of their video, it will ask them to take a selfie of themselves. At this point, they can add some stickers, smiley faces. They could put a little fake hat on themselves and make it a little bit more fun. Totally up to you. The students sometimes like it. I don't find that it gets too much in the way if it's just being added to the selfies and not being added to the video that they are actually making. But you can always just turn it off as well if you don't like that. Video title, do they want to be able to name it themselves? View count, sometimes I use it, but you don't want to make this too social media-like, and sometimes they get caught up on, ooh, how many people viewed my video? On the other hand, it might be useful. Sticky notes, allow them to add sticky notes while they're recording. Again, kind of up to you. Can they edit it a little bit or trim it when they get done? Again, kind of up to you. Attachment link, up to you. I would recommend turning likes off because, again, we don't want this to be social media. Finally, you can add some feedback. For the most part, I would suggest just leaving it as basic feedback for now until you get a better idea of how it works. But just to preview really quick, if you click custom feedback here, notice how I could create my own topics. I can add criteria. I can delete criteria if I don't want to, or if I don't want it anymore. And so what this allowed me to do when I made this one before is I kind of had all these little subpoints. And as I watched their video, I could rate each subpoint on a scale, whatever I set up. It could be a 2-point scale, a 5-point scale, a 10-point scale. And so as I went through and watched it, I checked those, and that gave my students some good formative feedback. So once I've gone through all those, I'm just going to go back to basic feedback, and then it's finally time to create my topic. So when I create my topic, very similar to how when I created my grid, it once again gives me a dedicated link. This is the link that I recommend using. If students click on this link, they will be directed right into this assignment, all ready to record their video response. So you can copy it. If you notice down here, you can share it directly to your Google Classroom. It doesn't save a whole lot of time in my opinion, but it's kind of nice. I usually just take this and copy it, go to my Google Classroom, and kind of organize it a little bit more how I want to. It doesn't give you much organizing options if you do it through this place. So I'm going to copy that link, and I'm going to say, you know what, I am all set. And now here is my topic. Cellular respiration, again, here's the code. If I forgot where my link was, I can always click this and get it again. You can see I have 0 responses. When a student comes to this same link, they're going to see just a nice big plus sign here, just a big green plus sign. And when they click that big green plus sign, it's going to ask them to allow their microphone and camera, perhaps for the first time or two. And then they just click record. It's very, very step-by-step for students. And most likely a video for them will be coming shortly. And so later on, when they get a response, or when you get a response, you're just going to come here and be able to see it. I'll show you what some of those look like in a minute. There's some other actions that you can do, such as record a response yourself, add some things, you can delete, you can duplicate. That might be an important one. So let's look at that a second. So let's say this was for my first hour AP Bio, but I want it in second and third and fourth as well. Well, I'm going to click duplicate topic. And now, where is the destination, right? It's already in my current grid, right? And so where else would I want to put it? Now, obviously, I don't have one set up for all my classes, but I would click on any other destinations that I would like to have. And then you can say, what would you even like to keep? Do you want only the topic? In other words, you don't want other responses and replies and stuff to follow it. Only featured responses would be ones that you kind of starred. I usually don't worry about that, but at least you can easily click the class that you want to send it to it, duplicate it. I have found that it takes a couple minutes for it to actually process that request. So what does this all look like when you are done? So I will open up one of my current topics. So back in my AP room, and you can see I've got a couple different topics that we've done so far. And so let me just click on this one. As soon as I click on this one, I see a lot of my student responses here. I had them work in partners on this one, which is why you see some duplicate names. And I usually just kind of go down from the top, and when we go into there, you'll start to see.
So first, the RNA polymerase is going to come, and it's going to go over the promoter and then over the regulatory gene. So then this codes for this repressor protein, which is going to attach right here. So then the RNA polymerase can continue, and then...
So I use my Flipgrid this time to actually have them show me a model that they had made. and explain it as well. Some students, sometimes the video ends up sideways because they use their cell phone. It's very easy to download this app on cell phones. But rather than recording themselves, they recorded a process. As you can see over here, as a teacher, I have three main things that I can do to offer feedback. One, I can reply right here. If I reply down at the bottom of the screen, any student who can see this video that these two girls made can also see my video response. If I click this video feedback, only the student that submitted this can actually see the response. Finally, if I set up some sort of grading rubric, if you recall earlier I showed one where I had a bunch of different topics here, I can leave kind of a rubric idea of a score here. And finally, I can actually type comments as well. So again, you got lots of options. You can type comments, you can leave private videos, public videos, you can create a rubric. My main caution for you is, regardless of how you do it, down at the bottom here, click email feedback. Email feedback. If you don't email that to them, most likely they're not going to see your feedback. At that point, you can just progress from one video to the other. It's pretty straightforward. It's a lot of fun to see the students. They get excited about it. They like to see you on video too, so don't hesitate to put yourself out there in your introduction as well. But hopefully this gets you started. There's a lot more that you can do with Flipgrid, so stay tuned, as there'll probably be a Beyond the Basics of Flipgrid video coming soon. As always, if you need some help, check with your tech guru.